Well, hello and welcome to Junk to Jules with Georgette Beck. I'm so glad you're here listening or watching today. I have a dear friend with me that I'd like to introduce you to. Her name is Dr. Ashley Salomon, and I'm going to read her bio that I have here because I don't want to miss anything important. But Dr. Ashley graduated from Life University in Marietta, Georgia in 2018. She was drawn to chiropractic medicine after witnessing several success stories with her own family. Her father was healed from a large disc herniation, and that actually caused numbness in his arms and hands. So what healed him was the chiropractic care he received. And this chiropractic treatment was also helpful with her sister's asthma. So witnessing those amazing things happening in her own family, she became a chiropractic patient herself. She also loves to see the body heal itself naturally of its many ailments that happen, and chiropractic treatment does that the best. So she enjoys patients of all ages, from pediatrics to geriatrics, including national and professional athletes. Dr. Salomon is very passionate about helping restore the health of others and giving them their full potential back, the way her chiropractor did for her family years ago. So welcome, Dr. Ashley Salomon, to Junk to Jules podcast with Georgette Beck. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. So I know that you received some specialized training after your chiropractic education. Can you dive into, more about that and share? Because I know you're going to remember that a lot better than me and say it a lot better, all the technical words.
I try to use regular English. But yes, I have my husband to blame or thank for that, because we both went through school together. And
So did you meet him at the school?
I did.
I love it. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. You're going to talk more about him too. I know
I
this.
can easily just
Good.
talk about him.
Good. So you met him there. We're going to come back to that. So finish your bio, your professional bio.
So I actually, because of him, we went and did a lot of other training outside of just our education in school. And there's so many things that we know now that we didn't used to know 10 years ago.
Okay.
So there's things like disc issues are completely resolvable.
Okay.
And other things that we didn't used to know can be fixed are easily fixable.
Right.
And not just that, but I've gotten to, in my career now, see so many amazing things that I didn't know was possible.
Right.
And I kind of just laugh at myself all of the time because the body, we're so amazingly designed to heal. And I still laugh that I get surprised or caught off guard when I see these crazy changes. Like the one last week that blew me away was there was a woman that came in. When she first had come in, she was there for back pain. And I have permission to share her story. It's not HIPAA breach. But she had such bad Parkinson's, it looked like she was waving. And she had such progressed dementia that she was having a hard time remembering her name.
Oh.
And 2 treatments later, she walks in, not being assisted by anybody, sees me across the room. Hello, Dr. Ashley, walking into the bathroom. I think my jaw hit the floor.
Oh my gosh, mine's hitting the floor. Oh my gosh.
So I have to remind myself. I'm the practitioner. I have to remind myself.
And you're getting to help people every day like this.
I just clear up
I love that.
interferences and see the body heal itself the way it was designed to.
Now you're with My Hope Health. What's the name of that?
My Hope Health and Wellness.
Oh, in Stewart?
Yeah.
Stewart, Florida. So she's right here on the Treasure Coast. That is a beautiful story. So I love that. So did you mention that specialized training? You went deeper in some training.
Yeah. So I went out to Idaho and did it's a week-long, it's more than a week intensive. And we can correct things that before we had to do operations for.
Right.
But now there's non-surgical corrections and there's amazing things.
And one of the things I think that's for carpal tunnel, because I know I had surgery for mine. So that would be something I wish I had known. But So carpal tunnel, any other like back pain or
So many things. It's kind of become just commonplace for me. So I'm sorry to say, I don't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, all of the list.
Yeah.
So since we're on the professional side right now, before we dive in personally, because we go there, heart matters. Chiropractic versus I know for myself, I'm very nervous. I'm a nervous patient anyways, because I'm afraid of pain. That's just the truth. You deal a lot with that, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of your patients come in and say, I'm nervous. but you're gentle,
Yeah.
right? In your touch and approach.
Yes. And patients such as yourself are actually some of my favorite.
Good.
My background wasn't such a pretty one. I grew up hating chiropractors, not trusting, but hating them. And a funny story with that, my best friend won't let me live it down because I grew up, saying chiropractors are fake doctors, they're witch magic, it's a crack or a sham. And I used to just parrot the same things I heard. They'll break your neck, they'll cause you a stroke. And I didn't have any founding for that.
Why.
So I just said it. And I feared them and disliked them. And I told my friend, we were running errands one day, she pulled up to a plaza. And I was like, you can't go in there. Said all of those same things. She's like, okay, you stay in the car. Now that I am a chiropractor, she reminds me of that day all too often.
I love it. I love it. Can you move up just a little bit? I want to make sure the mic's picking you up. It's hard to hear it back. Good. And then our mics have smiley faces on them because sometimes we forget where to speak to. So I'm so glad. All right. I love stories. As you know, Dr. Ashley and I got to tell you a personal story of how we met. If you remember, we had the opportunity to attend a Stewart Martin County Chamber of Commerce networking event. And she was at the breakfast and we chit-chatted and great connection, positive vibe. But what really stood out to me on a day, and this shows her heart, like really, I was biding my time. Like we got a phone call, I'd say in the middle, almost towards the end of the networking breakfast. And we couldn't leave because we were back to the wall in the room. And the event was happening in the middle of this coffee shop. So we were kind of biding our time before we could graciously leave and not interrupt because we didn't want to interrupt the speakers. And I had saw we just said hello. And then I just blurted out, we just got a call. And my grandbaby, who wasn't even a year, a dog bit him in the face. And it was serious, like bit him in the eye. So when you heard that, Dr. Ashley's response was immediately, can I pray for you? I'm astounded by that because we're at a professional event. And I just want to say kudos to you on that you reached out compassionately and you were just so gentle and kind. And I was like in a moment of freaking out, but trying to be professional and calm until we got out to the car and could call my daughter. So thank you for that. And then I'm sure that transfers to all your patients.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that, and I love how certain people get called to certain professions. And I like that. So let's start at the beginning. Share a little bit about your family, where you were raised or born, and some of your, just your family, and then how you kind of said a little bit about how you ended up a chiropractor, but fill us in on some of the details.
So I grew up, great family home unit. My mother was an ER nurse. My dad and his business partner of a small private business. Okay. And we always had the family that people would come to our house to hang out, and just great upbringing. And I can definitely say it's because we have a strong faith in our household.
Yeah.
Now, what led us to chiropractic was God kind of laughing. The saying, if you want to make God laugh,
tell him your plans.
My mother being an ER nurse, we just grew up disliking chiropractors. And she made the statement, no one in this house.
She did too?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. This is even better.
But she made the statement, no one in our family will ever see a chiropractor as long as I'm alive.
Wow.
God laughed. Long story short, my dad had a little injury, like climbing up a ladder. He hit his head on a sprinkler head. Just giving him a scratch. Right. But his neck had straightened out, so it couldn't handle the compressive force. And it caused herniated discs in his neck. Now, somebody he really looks up to basically bullied him into going to seeing his chiropractor.
A friend of his or a mentor of his?
Yeah, they actually volunteered at church together. So
because he wasn't getting any better. No. He was in pain, right?
Well, 2 neurosurgeons weren't going to touch him. They're like, no, sorry, we're not.
So he'd be stuck in pain.
Yeah, and he wasn't sleeping. He was maybe getting 3 hours of sleep a night, and he was just miserable.
Wow.
And the whole feeling of the family changed.
Right.
The dynamic was altered.
Right.
And it's really hard to see your father in that situation and no one's helping.
Yeah.
So when his friend bullied him into going to the guy, he introduced himself. Hi, I'm Dale. I believe my friend Ted. Ted sent me. Don't believe anything you do. You don't say that to somebody.
Yeah. Sounds like what my dad would say. Just to say the truth, what they're feeling.
Yeah. Some feelings can be kept in. But the gentleman just started explaining things so plain and matter of fact. As much as I wanted to dislike him, I was just like, yeah, okay, yeah. All right, well, I guess I can't disagree with him.
No.
And he explained it this simple. And when the body develops, it's almost like grapes growing on a vine, the vine being your nervous system, and the grapes being your organs.
Oh,
and
that's really clear. I can visualize that. Oh my gosh.
But he took it one step further. He's like, if you're in a car accident, your spine is severed. Everyone understands being paralyzed from that point on. But what happens if the nerve is compressed? That decreased function.
Right.
And so he explained, he was like, every part of your body is controlled by the brain. The nerves are what communicate the function. So if the brain can't communicate how to function, how is it going to function right?
Correct.
So that completely opened my mind and my way of thinking.
Okay. Then did he stayed with your dad worked through a plan?
Yeah. And he ended up better than he was before.
Wow.
So it was really cool because when I was there, it was about the time where, you were getting letters back from colleges, and depending on what you were wanting to do, helped you decide what college you were choosing.
Yeah.
And I did that dangerous prayer thing. I had wanted to be a teacher from 1st grade to 11th grade.
Did you say, God, whatever your will is, or show me the way, open the door, close the door?
I did.
Oh,
I was like, I want to be a teacher, but God, what do you want? And he called me.
Now that you're asking, thank you.
And I do not judge Sarai when she heard the angel talking about her.
She giggled.
Yeah, she laughed. I don't judge her.
No.
Because God told me, you're going to be a chiropractor.
And you laughed?
I think you had the wrong person.
Especially after you publicly said no, and then your mom, and then you saw your dad get better, right? So that speaks evidence. That's evidence.
And every day it's really amazing because since I do Bible studies, and he actually said something to me recently that really took my breath away. Because I was thinking about the painters that touch up these historical significant art pieces.
Now, I collect art. I love art. And I get this.
But I was thinking about, the ones who are tasked with restoring like the Mona Lisa.
Oh my gosh.
And something like that. Like,
such history.
What an honor.
Right.
And he said to me, you restore my masterpieces. And
I'm going to cry.
Okay.
But it's true, because he does call each of us a masterpiece.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Now, I just want to interrupt here. So you said a prayer, and first off, not everyone even knows to ask those questions. I'm a faith person too, and I learned that someone showed up in my life when I cried out when it was really hard and tough, and I had a lot of brokenness. I had a whole season of brokenness, but someone answered. First off, I was a little girl and believed in God for, I think, ever since. And then when my parents went through separation, divorce, that's when, we found ourselves in a little Bible assembly church. It was a Protestant church, Assembly of God church. And my mom brought us, and we all received Jesus, and my dad received Jesus, and that saved our family because they remarried. They went through separations, divorce, and then found Jesus and saved our family. So, but it still it wasn't a personal relationship yet. I didn't know that we can talk to God, and he is personal with each of us, that he actually has a very specific plan for each of his creations. We're each a creation created in a womb, and something very specific. We're all similar in a way. We're all human beings having this experience here, but each of our hearts and minds and talents and skills are different, and he has a plan. So the fact that you knew that to ask, that's awesome. Because think of it, if you had went down that other path as a teacher, you might have been very good at it. You have the heart to care, but it wasn't So, and another thing for those listening and watching, so ask, okay? Ask wherever you are right now, because it's never too late. I'm definitely that witness. I didn't know to ask, so I made a decision, and I call it destiny decisions, because you're at a key juncture of a crossroads. You make that decision. I made a mistake. It was generational repeat. But years later, God restored. And for me, my destiny. But this is about Dr. Ashley today. So I just want to interject. It's never too late to ask. Correct?
Yeah.
So now you're following the door that opened, and then you were surprised. So how was your schooling, your education?
Education was.
And you met someone.
Yes.
So see, if you didn't obey, you would have missed your partner and mate.
Yeah.
So did you meet him right away or?
Yes. And we were definitely two very different people.
Mhm.
And I honestly just told him no. Like, I was the good girl.
Oh,
the
yeah.
bad boy. And I was very adamant, like, no, this is never happening. And he pursued me for a year.
I love it.
And over that time,
I love romance stories.
because I even told him, I'm like, I don't want you to change because of me.
Mhm.
That's the worst thing I can
Right,
imagine somebody
right.
doing to another person.
Yeah.
And just over the time we were together, he changed.
Oh.
And now, I mean, he's my best friend.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And this is my second chance marriage. And I got to tell you, when you wait for the one that connects with you, it's worth the wait. They are your buddies. It's a whole different situation when you have a true partner, a true best friend that is your mate
Yeah.
and your love. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
So awesome. So you guys did this together and you have similar goals and visions for that. Now, is he at the practice with you too?
No, I told
Okay.
him I love him too much to ever work with him.
I love it. Oh, see, okay, I love it. And you got to follow your heart and mind, and you guys best. So my husband and I are actually team, and we do work together. But God put us in lay ministry first, so we kind of got the lay of the land doing that. But I love that because that was honest and that's truthful. And then you guys have your life, right?
Yeah, I like to learn from other people's mistakes.
Because it can get hairy. Some people, like my mom and dad, when my mom went to the office to help, it got a little tricky. But that's called wisdom, Dr. Ashley. So I love it. So what happened after school?
After school, we came back down to Florida.
Okay. Were you born in Florida? Did you say
Yes,
that?
I'm a Florida girl.
I love it. Floridian, through and through. Love it. Go ahead.
But we returned to Florida and we both started practicing in different practices. And I think I was in practice for almost 3 years. And then my life got flipped upside down. Actually, I would say it halted first.
Mm-hmm.
I was practicing regular day. And then all of a sudden my vision kind of started getting weird in one eye. And then very abruptly, very quickly, I was in the dark. I couldn't see. And then things started to...
That's scary.
Very quickly. Yeah. Well, vision has always been one of the things. What's your fear? Okay, losing somebody I love, but losing my vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was actually just the small start of it. Whole long story short, I had sudden severe onset multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
And it wasn't just the vision. It was things like unable to walk upright without almost falling over.
Suddenly.
Yeah, severe fatigue where it was almost too hard for me to get off the couch to get to the bathroom, to get back to the couch, and I wasn't able to do anything. And I went from very active to just stopped. And I had a hard time.
I cannot imagine.
Well, communication kind of stopped. I couldn't understand you longer than 8-word sentences, and they had to be tiny words. And I was forgetting simple words like hip or things like that. Drinking water, I'd start choking on the water constantly. There were so many things.
That is scary.
I think the scariest part of it was I was dissociating from my senses,
Mhm.
and it felt like a Twilight Zone,
Oh
where
my
you know if you
gosh.
see a movie and
Mhm.
the sounds are muffled
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
all wobbly.
Yes.
It felt like I was dissociating from my senses so much that every night I went to bed, I really did not think I was waking up the next morning. And we went through the full medical route, went to a neurologist in Miami that specialized in multiple sclerosis. And mine was so severe, he gave me 5 options that were all awful. So,
Oh, wow. So they did diagnose it as that.
yes.
They knew. Okay. Wow.
So gratefully, I remembered hearing somebody say, a physician from some other part of the world,
Mhm.
made an off-the-cuff statement about like, oh yeah, curing my patient's multiple sclerosis, on and on. And I just kind of think my brain rejected it because our Western medicine training here is multiple sclerosis is a lifelong diagnosis.
Mhm.
You just hope it doesn't progress.
Correct.
So
I know a few other people that have that as a diagnosis.
yeah, so when I was unable to drink water, and there's other things too, like I had sudden just rage at the drop of a hat. It was like somebody flipped a switch and it was just sudden, and that is not me.
Right.
So there were so many things, and when all of the options I was given were awful, my mother finally, being medical years and years in Western medicine and in ER, she finally gave it a thought of what is Eastern medicine or other medicines. What did they look at? So we went to a gentleman, and this was another God appointed
I would
thing.
do this if I was your mama.
Well, we wouldn't
Nothing
have,
else was helping.
yeah, and we wouldn't have looked elsewhere if our options weren't so dismal.
Right.
So we went to him. My mother had to be the one to drive me that day.
To this person that studied Eastern philosophy or medicine.
He used to be an OBGYN practicing in Miami. He saw his certificate on the wall and said, "Wait a minute, you practice alongside of the gentleman that delivered me." So
That's a divine appointment. That's a divine appointment.
Absolutely was.
Confirmation.
So he had her attention, and he made a statement that stopped us both. We had just been through all of the tests, the definitive diagnosis, multiple sclerosis.
Yikes.
We shared that to him, and he said, "It would appear so."
Appear
What?
so.
Exactly. So then he started explaining, here, it's kind of I call it a trash bin diagnosis. When you've ruled out the other things,
Right.
it just gets diagnosis of multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
You're diagnosing the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
So then he explained Eastern medicine. What led him away from OBGYN into Eastern medicine is his wife was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and they were given a few months, and they said, "Take time off. Enjoy your last time with her." And he did not accept that. He took her overseas.
That's who you want as a doctor.
He took her overseas, and now she is practicing alongside of him at their practice, helping other people that have been given these death sentences, and they don't accept it.
I love that.
He did a lot more tests with me, and it was plethora. But he found a lot of things, and he explained everything very well, how certain things add together or react with each other and basically magnify. Each of them might be small, but the way they interact, and he explained each of them.
So you understood it clearly in layman's terms, which we all need. It's very helpful. A lot of doctors, not all, but some do try to speak in our language, but that's another caring gesture, is to bring it to you where you understand it piece by piece or part by part. So you were with him and he worked with you.
Yeah, and that was a long process because there was dozens of things that basically caused, I call it my avalanche moment. So he had to work with me peeling back this layer. We're adjusting this, and it took about 11 months.
Wow.
But I mean, I have my mind back now. I went
right.
I couldn't hold a conversation like a kindergartner could do better than I could.
So patience is key here.
Yeah.
And that's, honestly, if you think about the ebb and flow of life and how your body system works, and if you look at nature, go ahead, Bonnie, we have our 2 dogs. Bonnie and Diesel are in the room with us. We love our animals. It is a slow process. Nature heals itself. Like nature, if you see how it flows and how plants grow back after pruning, and that's how our body is too. Like after a trauma or emotional trauma or spiritual or physical, it takes time. And sadly, our society, I think, wants that quick cure. Fix me now. I don't want to be in pain. And I can't do pain either. So I'm going to be like, please take this away. But if we do take the time to pray or ask for solutions and wisdom and it behooves us all to research. There are so many books and so many podcasts out, YouTube videos. If you have some symptoms, good and bad, right? Pro and con of there's a lot of information out there, but decipher it, review it, because if there is a better way, like essential oils now, I'm learning about that, and natural remedies versus a chemical remedy. Each of us are in charge of our own lives and body, but then our lives matter. And you're listening, whoever's listening, your life matters. Research, ask the questions, go to several doctors.
Yes. And
don't just make a decision quickly.
And different scopes of practice too.
What do you mean by that, Dr. Ashley? Can you explain the different scopes?
Yes. So medical doctors versus doctors of chiropractic versus doctors of osteopathy, they have different approaches and different, I don't know how to say it well.
Thinking?
Yes, thinking.
Philosophies.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's certain ones like one person will have an opinion that's this way and another will have a different opinion.
Mhm.
And I say that's the opinion because that's the experience.
Correct.
So I've definitely had different opinions in other
Mhm.
positions. And they say to me, well, that's not the way. I'm like, well, that's my opinion because that's my experience.
And it's your life. It's your own body.
Yeah. So I've gotten to see patients that, and this breaks my heart, they've been told there's nothing that can be done. And so patients come to me and say, well, I mean, I just have to live with this for life. I'm like, no, you don't.
Mhm.
Different scopes are able to do things that others can't. So like in the medical scope, there is usually 3 tools that they use is prescribing, injecting, or operating.
Mhm.
So there's things that I, in my scope, can completely resolve without operation.
Yeah.
And just because one doctor says one thing doesn't mean that's the only thing.
Right. I like it. I like it. Oh my gosh. I love it. So, all right. So then what happened? So you healed, your body healed itself.
Yeah. So it took a
Because
long
you have no issues with your speech now. And yeah, you look beautiful and amazing. And
Thank you.
so what
It
happened
was a
after?
long trek. It was like
Right.
11 months of having to do a lot of stuff. And now
And trusting the process and giving it time.
yes.
Okay.
But now I'm back in practice. It's been a year now. And I've gotten to see some more amazing things. And honestly, people ask me, oh, well, if you don't mind, can I ask? And they're almost like timid about asking. And they're like, it's personal. I'm like, but you don't get it. Being able to share what I went through to help
Yeah.
somebody else
Yeah.
makes it so much more worth it.
Yeah.
Because going through it in the moment,
It's not fun.
and you told me, oh, when you come out of it, all of these things will happen. But you have the choice to not go through this. I would never have chosen to go through it.
Right.
But now having come out of it and been able to help the people I've already been able to help because of what I went through, I would never take it back.
Right.
I'd never choose it. So
No,
give me the option.
no. Our show's called Junk to Jewels. We wouldn't choose all of the junk that comes our way, but they do transform to the jewels. And now
so amazing.
You had a kind heart before, but now your heart is even more understanding. And I think more determined to stand up for what you're doing and the practice and belief in a healthier way. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And you love talking, I think, about it and teaching others how they can heal.
I definitely want to be able to do for another family what that physician did for mine all those years ago. And now I also have an experience that allows me to help and reach even more on a whole nother scale and in ways, in areas that I wouldn't be able to if I didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
I actually was speaking on the phone with somebody on the drive here, sharing again, hoping to connect them with somebody to get the healing that I had. So I'm so thrilled to be able to use it for greatness.
Yeah. I love that. I'm such a proponent, right? Proponents for something. Your thoughts are powerful. It starts in the thoughts and your beliefs. And that's why I come from brokenness and I had low self-worth and I did not believe I was of value, didn't believe I mattered, but I read books, of course, faith, reading the Bible and having God love me first. And he showed up when no one else was there and he answered prayers. So I prayed alone, but that started it for me. And I started transforming my thinking. But then on the outside too, like, it's what our diet is. It's all of that. It's a transformation. It starts with our thoughts, I think, and what we believe about ourselves. And we're worthy of getting healed, right? And seeking things that bring joy and just doing our best. So what other parts of your life journey that you want to share? Is there other things that happened along the way?
I feel like you hear people talk about, oh, these are the golden years or those were the great years. And my mother actually made the statement recently that it was almost a knee-jerk response, but it's true. I feel like they've all been the great years.
I like
ones that were rough.
Yeah.
Actually brought me into relationship with people that I wouldn't have had contact with or wouldn't have formed such a deep relationship with. And I'm very grateful because so many of them were quite patient and understanding. And even when I basically checked out, I was physically present, but there was nothing going on behind the curtain. So many of them were just patient. And I was all right, wait for her to come back around.
And that's, you know what, that says something that says something in itself. That sometimes, like, if we have a job, each of us sometimes have a job assignment, or, maybe it's a relationship, or maybe out in public we see someone at the grocery store. But sometimes it does take just someone being patient with us. And I've got to tell you, I was plugged into a faith community, and it was that community that I was a mess. I didn't, well, I don't think I was a horrible person, but I definitely was emotionally a mess. And so when someone would share a truth with me, it would take me a while to grasp it. And they gave great patience, and they would pray with me on the same issues for a long time sometimes. But that's what it takes. And I think that's what you're talking about, that people shared that patience with you as you were figuring it out, or, having to go through this journey. And that's important for all of us as humans, right?
Yeah.
To be that for people.
And especially as I was coming out of the backside of it, things were better, but they still weren't great. And people would look at me like, you look fine.
They didn't understand.
Yeah. But that was probably harder.
Yeah, I would think.
When you can outright see something is wrong, like if somebody has a limp.
Yeah.
Or they have an eye patch.
You have more understanding in that, right? Okay.
But my issues were neurological. It was inside. So my brain wasn't processing. I wasn't functioning.
Right.
And when somebody just didn't have the time of day, or they were impatient, or they were quick to anger, it was like, I can't do anything about this.
Right.
And it was almost more hurtful than anything else I was dealing with, because I love to serve, and I love to help people, and to know that I am also causing other people's, irritation or anger, and there was nothing I could do about it. Man, that was, when people talk about, things being empowering or not, that was robbing me of so much.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that stuff mattered to me until I was in that situation.
Yeah.
So I probably was guilty of that myself before then. But now I recognize I don't know what somebody's going through. And what I see is just what I can see.
Especially with the epidemic of mental health. Like my mom, my brother, my uncle. We lost my uncle last year from mental health and stuff. He committed suicide. But my mom, there's days depression was huge. So, and so many people are struggling of all ages, especially after COVID, and our youth was, everyone experienced a flip over. We all had to learn how to do life differently for a while. But so now you can see people, and especially with even car accidents, or if someone has a brain injury, or those coming back are veterans, they're out there, they look normal, but they're going through something. And even with people with just depression, it's not just, I take that back. It can take you down, because I also struggled with that in my past life. You're not able to show up in life like other healthier people. But when someone's compassionate like you are right now, and like you've been, and when people were compassionate to you, it makes all the difference in your healing journey.
Oh, yeah.
And you give yourself grace to keep showing up for treatment, or show up and ask for help when someone expresses that, right?
Yeah, my sister said something kind of over and over, and because of the place I was in mentally while I was going through it, I almost just wanted to smack her on the head. But
her siblings, sister.
Tell me, she's like, it takes a tribe, because
it does.
Well, I've always been that independent, self-reliant type person. So having to have help, that drove me crazy.
That is hard.
And now I've learned that some people, their love language is being able to serve.
Yes. My husband is he is a serve. That's his language, is to serve. And he's got the hospitality gift to go with that. So yes. But for those of us, like I'm very independent too. And when I was all alone and needed help, community, and God showed me, you know what? Sometimes you asking for help and letting someone help you, you're letting them receive love, because they're in the gesture giving, and giving makes you happy. Like giving brings you joy. Yeah. So, but it's hard to be on the other end to ask for help. But now you're in a practice, and you're coming, you have so many patients that come and different things. And you have the mindset to respond.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I'm excited.
Mindset definitely changed a lot through things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd even say it helped my relationship with my husband because I'm pretty sure his gift is serving,
Mm-hmm.
acts of service for,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so quick to like, oh no, it's okay. Like, I'm good. That I didn't realize I was basically turning him down with his love language.
Yes.
So,
Wow, that's an eye opener because it's true. It's true. Let them do their gift. Let them do their love language.
yeah.
I like it.
So now even like the silly things, I'm like, I can do this. Well, of course I can, but he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to serve me. He wants to.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I think our relationship is even closer because
You let them.
I don't know love language.
Go ahead. Breakfast, please. Sure. Thank you. So my hubby actually does that too. He makes us breakfast every morning and I pour the coffees and I make the coffee and then he makes breakfast, but it fills him up.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to remind each other too, though. It's like for mine is words of affirmation written over spoken and then gifts, So when he combines it with the written note and then a surprise with the flowers, that fills my tank. So I try to do service because that's his. So I try to do that. But in that book's a great book, by the way. We're talking about, it's the 5 love languages. Gary Chapman, who wrote that. So definitely good for all relationships. Even if you're single, that is still a good book to know because you should know what your love language is and your family's. It's good for all relationships. So yeah. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to share before I start asking you questions to close this out? Any other experiences that you remember?
Not any in particular, just more of kind of feelings I've gotten as I've gone along the way.
Yeah.
Little lessons I've learned.
Yeah. You want to share any nuggets?
Yeah. And I'm still bad at this one. I think the reason, here's my nuggets, is when I'm still learning every day.
We all are learning every day, no matter how old we are.
Don't discredit if somebody says something or gives you some compliment or
That's
says,
good.
You're good at this or what.
Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist, so I am the worst when it comes to being the very quickest to be like, oh, no, I'm not good at that. I could be so much better at something or other.
That's powerful. Say that again. Say it again. No, because some of us need that to hear it again.
So don't discredit if somebody compliments you on something or points out something that they see as strength in you.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you might not feel it.
Right.
Receive that.
Yes. Yeah, because a lot of times, let's be honest, some people are not having life spoken over them and getting affirmed on a daily basis because a lot of people don't know how to do that. But receive it. Yeah. Receive it. And that's hard for people. Yeah, that's good. I like it. So do you have a favorite scripture so the other thing, I love that one and to ask our guests. And also, do you have a book that made a difference in your life? Is there a favorite book?
Oh boy, that's almost as bad as what's your favorite movie? From which genre?
I know, and don't ask me my favorite book because I read all the time, so they're all favorites. So
I have my favorite book. It's cheesy.
My dog is barking. She's wanting to go outside. We're almost done, Bonnie. Hold on.
But
your Bible.
Yeah, I read through scripture all the time because it's amazing.
Helpful.
And every single time, like when it talks about the word of God being living and active.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll read a verse that I've read 6 times.
Yes.
And just where I am in life and how the Holy Spirit.
Isn't that neat?
Through that. It's like somebody smacked me in the face with a message that I needed for that particular instance.
Yes. And how divine that is, I just got to tell you, because I'm very systematic in my Bible reading and devotions. So I have a stack of devotional books and my Bible. I read from the old, 1 chapter. I read from the new, 1 chapter. I read the Proverbs of the day. And if I have time, a page of the Psalms.
Yes,
so that could be 1 or 2 Psalms. And then in my devotionals, I'll be having something happen in life and I'm seeking him and asking very specifically on a situation. And in that day's reading is the response. Now that is, and then even in the devotional books, I random, and some days I'll miss if I don't have time to do all the books, but on the day, it's right there. So when you spend time in faith like that, or in your private time asking, or just, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah. And that's something else too. We're made and meant for community.
Yes.
Even my introverts. There's another introvert out there.
And you could be mixed, by the way. I learned. I started off believing in life. I was an extrovert, but now I am 50-50. And you can. I learned that. You can go out and be with people in community. Like I can work a room. I could do a whole party. Matter of fact, I'm really great at events. I love planning events. But then I need to be alone. I need to be with my books. I need to journal. And I need that to be good at it as out there. And I also need out there because I like being alone. And if you're too alone, I get depressed, like, because you need people, like you were saying. And you know what God showed me? And maybe he showed you this too, because you're a proponent for community. How do we get love? It's actually from other people. Like we can self-love. We can, give ourselves that pep talk in the mirror. But it's actually like when you converse with someone, there's spirit in them and aren't my spirit. Like you connect and you get a hug from someone or a word or a hello or, how can I help you today? Right?
Yeah.
So community is key.
Yeah. And we all have different strengths. So your strengths might cover my weaknesses.
Exactly.
Together.
Yeah. So if there was a person, if you were able to do this, I love this question too. I've included it in my podcast. If you could sit down with anyone from past or present for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and just have that time to have a conversation, who would it be?
It would actually be probably not for the reason people think of, but Reverend or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because he had in a time where he was met with such adversity for so many different things.
Yeah.
He had such a founding and just his way of
Bonnie. You're on podcast, Bonnie.
She's adamantly trying to be part of this.
Yeah, she wants to go outside. Almost, Bonnie, almost.
But I always loved his philosophies, and it was so much more than people have painted him to just purely be a symbol for breaking down
diversity and break down prejudice and end it.
Yeah, and so much more. He was just really impressive.
I like that. Awesome. Now, if you were to speak to your younger self or someone out there that's listening or watching that maybe they are young, maybe they're about to graduate high school, or maybe they're in a situation with their health all of a sudden, out of the blue, they're experiencing some horrible symptoms and maybe they were in a traumatic accident. What would you say to them right now?
I would say the more we learn about the body, the more we know nothing. So never lose hope because so many things happen all the time that blow us away and we learn more and then we realize we know even less than we thought.
Yes.
But the body is amazing at healing. It's so many incredible things. Never lose hope.
I like that. That is God's honest truth. Don't lose hope. I'm so grateful and thankful that we got to meet, because I'm finding that, and see, this is risk. The more we get out there and it's vulnerable to come out of our comfort zone. Some people are comfortable going out there and talking to people and some people are not, but it is scary and being vulnerable to get to know people because you put yourself, but it's so worth it because now I'm getting to know Dr. Ashley better. We got to have lunch and I'm sure we're going to get together again. Oh, yeah. And I get blessed from knowing her now. And it's so nice. So thank you for coming on this podcast as a guest. Now, do you have a place folks can, if they want to reach out to you to comment or ask questions, where can they find you?
Either at the office I work at, Hope Health and Wellness.
Okay.
Or shoot me a message through Facebook. I don't know. I've never
private messenger. And or you can contact Junk to Jules podcast and then I'll reach out to Dr. Ashley as well. So thanks everyone for listening and watching today. And we tried something different with our cameras. So we're learning every day the technology. So thank you so much for coming. And everyone have a blessed day. And thank you so much for being with us today.